Welcome to the deep dive. We've got this stack of source material you send over right here.
Yep, looks like a lot to cover.
It is. And it's all the latest happenings in tech. Our mission, it's pretty simple. Pull out the really important insights, the surprising bits, the stuff that really matters for you.
Right. And you've given us a real mix this week. It touches on, well, everything from new AI laws.
Yeah, the regulatory side.
To cutting-edge products, big company moves, some kind of unexpected privacy issues popping up, too.
And even cyber attacks, right, affecting daily stuff.
Exactly, like groceries. It shows how interconnected it all is.
Totally. So the goal for this deep dive, unpack these threads, see how they connect, and figure out what really stands out for you right now. Let's jump in.
Sounds good.
Okay, let's start with something that feels pretty significant, the regulatory side. AI regulation. New York State lawmakers just passed a bill, the RAISE Act.
That's the one.
Yeah.
The core idea, or at least the stated goal, is to prevent what they call frontier AI companies.
Frontier AI, so the big players.
Exactly. The ones really pushing the boundaries, developing the most advanced models. The goal is to stop them from contributing to major disasters. That's the phrase they used.
Wow, major disasters. That definitely sounds serious. And this bill, it's headed to Governor Kathy Hochul now for signature.
That's the next step, yeah. And what's really interesting here, you can see it in the sources, is this tension.
Tension between what?
Between how incredibly fast AI is developing and then, regulators trying to catch up almost in real time, it feels like. Especially with these really powerful, maybe unpredictable models.
It's a super tricky balance, isn't it? And the sources mentioned this isn't just New York thinking about this. Didn't California have something similar?
They did, yeah, last year. But Governor Newsom actually vetoed that one.
Oh, okay. So different states, different outcomes. They're definitely wrestling with it.
Absolutely. And this quick attempt at regulation is getting pushback, too. One article mentioned Anthropic's co-founder Jack Clark.
Right. What was his take?
He criticized the New York bill, said it was too broad.
Too broad. Like, it might catch things it shouldn't. Or just be too vague.
That seems to be the worry, yeah.
Yeah.
That it could be hard to implement clearly, or maybe even slow down useful innovation alongside the risky stuff.
But the bill's sponsors, they pushed back on that, didn't they? I saw that in one article.
They did. They argued the window to put in place guardrails for AI is rapidly shrinking. They feel this real sense of urgency as the tech advances.
Right. TikTok.
Pretty much. And they also said they tried to design it carefully, to avoid stifling innovation. Which brings us right back to that core tension.
Speed versus caution.
Exactly. The need to regulate fast before things get out of hand versus the risk of rushing into rules that aren't quite right or might backfire. Yeah. And focusing on frontier AI shows they're really reacting to the power of these latest models.
Okay, so while the governments are trying to figure out guardrails for the big AI, what are the developers and startups actually doing? Let's shift from regulation to innovation. This is where it gets really interesting, I think.
Oh, definitely. And the sources make it crystal clear. AI is just dominating the startup scene right now.
Yeah, how so?
Well, look at the Y Combinator demo day, their first spring class. One report flat out said AI was the big theme.
The big theme.
Yeah, and they highlighted, I think it was 11 really promising companies from that batch, all doing something with AI. Shows you where the energy and probably the money is going.
Makes sense. And it's not just startups. We're seeing the established players roll out new AI stuff too. OpenAI, for instance, they just released O3 Pro.
Right, O3 Pro. It's a version of their O3 model, but they're calling it a reasoning model.
Okay, reasoning model. What does that actually mean based on the sources? What does it do?
So a reasoning model like this one, it's designed to work through problems step by step. That's the key phrase.
Step by step, okay.
Yeah, so unlike models that might just jump to an answer maybe correctly, maybe not, these are built to be more reliable for tasks that need logical steps. Things like physics problems, math, coding.
Ah, so more complex stuff where the process matters.
Exactly. It's about building more robust AI, less prone to weird errors for these specific complex areas.
Sounds useful. Although I did see Sam Altman mention their first open model release is delayed a bit. Until later this summer.
Right, a slight delay there. But the focus is clearly on improving these reasoning skills. Yeah. Seems like a big direction for the next wave of models.
And it's not just the huge AI labs like OpenAI either. Other companies are pivoting hard towards AI, like the browser company.
Oh, yeah, that was interesting. They stopped work on their Arc browser, which people liked.
They did.
And now they're developing something called Dia, and they're calling it an AI-first browser.
AI first, that sounds different. not just adding AI features then.
Seems like they're really rethinking the whole browser experience from the ground up, built around AI. Could totally change how we, interact with the web.
Okay. And then there was maybe the most surprising partnership I saw in the sources. Mattel.
Right.
Oh.
The toy company. Barbie.
Well,
Hot Wheels.
Yeah, partnering with OpenAI to make an AI-powered product.
That one definitely stood out. It just shows how AI is becoming this, foundational thing, applicable everywhere, not just for tech companies.
And the detail about Mattel employees getting access to OpenAI tools like ChatGPT Enterprise.
Yeah, that's huge too. It suggests they're not just making one AI toy, right? They're looking to bake AI into their whole process.
Enhance product development and creative ideation, the source said.
Exactly. So the impact isn't just the products we might eventually see, but it's also transforming how companies work internally, even in sectors you wouldn't immediately peg as AI-driven.
Totally. So, think about how this stuff might change the software you use, like your browser maybe, or even down the line, the toys your kids play with. AI is popping up in some really unexpected places.
It definitely is.
Now, okay, as exciting as all this innovation is, the source has also brought up the other side, the challenges, the risks, the sometimes unintended consequences.
Yeah, this is where you really see the gap, sometimes a big gap, between the promise of tech, especially AI, and how it actually works out in the real world. Amsterdam is a good example.
Amsterdam, what happened there?
So the city government tried using AI algorithms in this program called Smart Check. The idea was to make screening for welfare benefits more efficient.
Okay, sounds reasonable.
And they were specifically trying to improve on past systems that had problems, errors, bias.
So the intention was good, use tech to fix a flawed system, but what actually happened, based on the sources?
Well, unfortunately, despite trying to avoid bias, the report says the Smart Check program still failed and was full of bias.
Oh, wow. It failed and was still biased.
Yep. There's actually a big investigation digging into why that happened. Lighthouse reports, MIT Tech Review, Trow, they're all looking into it.
That's really telling, isn't it? It shows just how hard it is to build these systems fairly, even when you're trying. Raises huge questions about accountability, especially for critical government stuff.
It really does.
Yeah.
It's not just about the tech working. It's about the social impact, testing for bias, being transparent. Much more complex.
And speaking of transparency, or lack thereof,
Yeah.
there was a privacy issue flagged with the Meta AI app.
Yes. A reporter, Amanda Soberling, found it was publicly sharing people's queries.
Publicly sharing search queries, that sounds bad.
Yeah, pretty serious.
Yeah.
The source said Meta wasn't clear about privacy settings, or even where these queries might end up being posted.
Like you wouldn't know it was public.
Apparently not clearly, and the example they gave was really stark. If you used Meta AI logged in with a public Instagram account, your searches, even sensitive ones, potentially could just become public.
That completely breaks the expectation of privacy for a search, doesn't it?
Absolutely. That lack of clarity, the default settings, is a big concern. Really erodes trust in these new tools.
And we also saw some analysis about AI's impact on media, news publishers.
Right. The issue is that chatbots are using news content, often scraped without direct permission or payment, to train themselves and answer questions.
So people get the answer from the chatbot.
And, as one article put it, there's no need to click on Google's blue links anymore.
Which hurts the publishers.
Exactly. The reports say it's hurting publishers because their whole model relies on traffic, on clicks, for ad revenue.
So these examples, Amsterdam, Meta, the publishers, they really underline that gap, right? The promise is huge, but the real world stuff, fairness, privacy, economic disruption, is still really messy.
Absolutely. These aren't just theoretical issues anymore. They're impacting people, businesses, right now.
Okay, let's round out this deep dive with some of the broader company news and product updates from the sources, stuff that affects a lot of us.
Sure. Apple's WWDC 2025 was obviously a big one this week.
Right. What did they announce?
They showed off a newly designed iOS 26 and new features planned across, well, pretty much all their products.
One of the reports mentioned Apple was under considerable pressure this year. Why was that?
Well, the analysis suggested Apple is seen as kind of lagging behind in AI compared to, say, Google or OpenAI.
Ah, the AI race.
Exactly. Plus, they're still dealing with those legal challenges over the App Store. So, yeah, there was pressure on them to really deliver, show some big innovation, especially in AI.
Makes sense. And did they? Anything stand out? I saw a mention about iPadOS 26.
Yeah. They specifically called out features coming to iPadOS 26 that, quote, might actually make it usable for a full day of work.
Huh. I feel like people have been waiting for that forever.
It's definitely a specific pain point they seem to be addressing, yeah. Even if it's a small detail in the grand scheme of things.
Meanwhile, Google wasn't sitting still either. Android 16 started rolling out to Pixel phones.
Yep. And the sources listed some features. Adding group chat to RCS, that's their messaging thing.
Right.
AI-powered edit suggestions in Google Photos.
Yeah.
Integrating AI more there. And support for corporate badges in Google Wallet. Sort of practical stuff.
So more AI woven into the phone experience, plus some utility things.
Pretty much. Incremental, but pushing AI deeper.
And then there was Tesla. Elon Musk made an announcement about driverless rides.
Yeah, he announced plans to start offering public rides in driverless vehicles in Austin, Texas on June 22.
Public rides. Like anyone can hop in.
Well, the details weren't totally clear, but moving from internal testing to actual public access, even if limited at first, that would be a pretty big step if it happens as announced.
Definitely one to watch. Okay, shifting gears completely. Cyber attacks. The sources highlighted a pretty major one this week affecting groceries.
Yeah, United Natural Foods, UNFI, they're a huge grocery distributor in the U.S.
And they got hit. What was the impact?
Pretty disruptive, apparently. One report said much of their external-facing systems were offline. That included systems used by suppliers, customers, even their VPNs.
Wow, and that had knock-on effects.
Big time. It directly impacted Whole Foods, which UNFI supplies. The sources said it messed up normal delivery schedules and product availability.
So empty shelves, potentially, because of a cyber attack on a distributor?
Exactly. It's a really stark reminder of how vulnerable our supply chains are, even for essentials like food. A tech problem somewhere else can hit your local store.
Yeah, really brings it home. The sources also had a few other sort of business-y bits. Chime's IPO.
Right, the fintech company.
Yeah.
Raised, what was it, $864 million? A big deal in that space.
And something about a debate on a TechCrunch podcast. Agentic AI.
Yeah, agentic AI.
Yeah.
That's the idea of AI systems acting more autonomously, making decisions, pursuing goals without constant human checking in.
Sounds potentially powerful, potentially scary.
It's definitely a hot topic. Raises all sorts of questions about control, safety as AI gets more capable.
So look at that range, right? From the phone OS in your pocket, maybe how you'll get around in the future, to the food you buy, big money IPOs, and these really fundamental debates about where AI is heading. It all connects.
It really does.
Yeah.
And maybe that leads to a final thought here, something to chew on after this deep dive. We've talked about AI just weaving itself into everything: regulation, new products, government services, privacy, business.
Yeah, it's everywhere.
So given that speed, that breadth, how do we, as users, as citizens trying to navigate all this, how do we strike the right balance? How do we embrace the innovation, the clear benefits, while also demanding, real accountability, transparency, and strong safety measures from the folks building and rolling out this powerful tech?
That really is the core question, isn't it? It's a huge balancing act. And definitely a lot to think about. We've covered so much ground today thanks to the sources you shared from those AI regulation attempts.
And the new models coming out.
To those really concerning privacy issues, the big company moves like Apple's WWDC, and that UNFI cyber attack hitting close to home.
It's clear the tech world is just incredibly dynamic, amazing progress, but also some really significant ongoing challenges to grapple with.
Absolutely. So keep exploring, keep asking questions. It's really the only way to stay on top of things in this fast-moving world. And seriously, thank you for providing the sources that let us do this deep dive.
Always interesting to see what you bring us.